I will tell you that at the outset now, before we start our dissection into the ethmoids, we're going to do a little bit of a short talk about the septum itself. We saw from earlier that there was an obvious spur, and I saw a really nice video in Brian's talk about kind of that spirectomy and incising right along this spot that we know is going to tear anyway and flipping a flap up and down. Presuming that we have more of a situation where caudal, that's right there. More of a situation where we need to address the entire septum for other pathologies like a superior septal deviation, that we're going to make an incision in the septum. I saw this anterior part of the septum was a little bit more, had a little bit less space than this side. And so I pre-made an incision here, which I tuck up under that first little fold here, so we can get really anterior. I used to come down here and cut all the way down and then make a hockey stick going backward to get less tearing. I actually now just cut right into this sill area a little bit, just to extend it further. It allows me to get a little bit more laxity in my flaps. It means that when I scratch this area to get into that mucoperichondrial plane, I'll be able to get right onto the cartilage. As I do that, simply now I can elevate the entirety of this mucoperichondrial flap going posteriorly. I'm going to show you a way that we can remove a substantial part of the cartilaginous and bony septum and then put some any straight pieces back in, which I will frequently do so that I can get access to things like the olfactory cleft penetration for topical medication therapies. Some of it you're seeing me do a bit blind, and that you really, so you can sweep it going all the way back to the sphenoid. There we can see the rostrum of the sphenoid. And if I pressed right here, I would drop right into Dr. Weeks's sphenoidotomy. I don't always do that for my septums, but nice to see that spatial arrangement between the two now that he's dilated the sphenoid os for me. Anteriorly, sometimes I make sure that I can get to this anterior inferior spur. You can tell that there's not anything happening except for that this is the normal maxillary crest, so I can feel bone below and cartilage above. If I have this step I do with a caudal knife or cartilage knife, but we don't have one, so I don't think. So I'm going to use a 15 blade, being careful to try not to go through the other side. Part of that reason I stagger the incision. I don't make it right here, because if I cut through and through here, when I go to oppose these, it might have a through and through hole, and so we might get a perforation. So I'm going to be delicate with my 15 blade, but I would do this with a cartilage knife to try to get to the other side. Frequently in your cadavers, you'll have to start with this, just because if they have a significant septal deviation, you'll have trouble. I might have gone through there. Apologies. All the way up. Thank you. Cheers. We're just going to do the exact same thing on the opposite side to get into that mucoperichondrial plane, and then elevate the whole thing efficiently. I'm going to try to see if I can get us going all the way back and find the spur. Sometimes you can see that the superior part of the septum has this lean that's going to block olfactory cleft medication penetration. So the spur was obvious. What was not was the superior part right here, which in a CRS patient is going to obscure medication penetration into that olfactory cleft. Good example of using our lens cleaning technology. It isn't something you necessarily always have available for septal operations, but certainly I think you saw its utility in that you're in a space where you don't want to bring the camera in and out so many times, is that Brian is activating that with a foot pedal and making it very easy for me. Sometimes need to use a suction freer in that setting, just because it'll pool liquid at the back. Again, maxillary crest here. I'm going to use a straight Mayo scissors. In the actual operating room, I have a double action scissor that I use for this purpose, but I'll show it to you with a straight pair of Mayo scissors, because that's what we have in the lab. I think we have here. When I'm making this cut at the front, I'm going to try to show you with my endoscope that I am trying, although you can't see it here, I'm trying to parallel the dorsum of the nose. What we don't want to do is not have maintained a dorsal strut. And so I'm not trying to angulate up like that and get too much of that dorsal support. So I want to make sure I maintain a 1 centimeter dorsal strut. And so I'm going to do that here. When I make multiple cuts, because I want to hear this. That click makes me know I've come through the bony cartilaginous junction. I do another one inferiorly, which is just above the maxillary crest there and below the spur. What you're going to see then it lets us do is fracture the back of the septum here so that I can try to take that out all in one piece if I'm really lucky. Most of one piece, I think. A mosquito or no, straight grasper. Sometimes I use a double action grasper to take it out. What you'll see is that I get a pretty hardy piece of cartilaginous septum, and that later on I would trim some of that that's straight, not the spur, obviously, and put that piece back in. I maybe show you that in just a second. If I have other areas that I need to address, I'll go back and make sure that I get the last piece here of the spur so that I have it. You see that I've taken quite a bit of that cartilaginous and bony septum. I'm going to take this for a second. If I need to do more here and I felt like this is creating a substantial part of the obstruction inferiorly, that I'll take that maxillary crest off. And so now you can see I can address all of that. I'll take that same straight. Yep, thank you. And if I felt, I'm going to show you one more spot. I'll take this trackable suction that I hear. Do you have that one, Brian? Thank you. When you're here, we can now look at the navigation screen, can kind of see that we saw there was a superior deviation on the screen, top left coronal cut. And now you can see with the cartilage gone, my medication penetration into this olfactory cleft that much better. And so that's really all I wanted to achieve and show. As long as you're maintaining a dorsal strut in line with the armpit of the middle turbinate, I think you're going to notice a substantial improvement in terms of medication delivery without losing dorsal support for the nose. I'm going to show one more thing really quickly and then we're done. John, I think you're next. And so what I might ask you to do is just come and show us the image guidance, just scrolling through there if you're okay. Just because you're going to need that knowledge for doing your dissection. What I have done is I took my Mayo scissors and I trimmed that piece of cartilage back into whatever straight pieces I got. And that's not perfectly straight, so maybe I'll trim it again. And then at the end of the case, could insert that back into place before I suture it, that I just took it like that, and I can put it right back up in between our mucosal flaps so that I can maintain rigidity. I've broken it there, so sorry. If I want to do that posteriorly to prevent flutter in runners, if I want to do it anteriorly to prevent septal perforation in someone who I thought I had weak flaps or I think I had a tear in either side of my flap, and then I suture it together with a 4-0 plain gut suture on a mini Keith needle. I don't have that here, but that's exactly how I do. When I do that, I trap the middle turbinates medialized with that mini Keith needle as well. That's it for endoscopic septal. Want to scroll on there? Or?